Howdy friends, Tadas here with Insomniac Next Door. For those of you that are just joining me, I've had insomnia for about 5 years. The first 2 years were pretty severe, and third year it was I caught what was causing it, and for the past 2 years I've been slowly improving it and managing it pretty well. More like a DJ, always fine-tuning everything to make sure I'm responding to my body's needs and I'm getting enough rest. So I have other concurrent conditions that have to do with hypothyroidism, mercury toxicity, various gut issues, neurological issues, and so on. So it's a basket. And today I wanted to share with you my experience about vitamin D. And how in very rare cases, it seems, it can cause the opposite of actually causing for your sleep quality to decrease significantly. In some ways, cause massive insomnia, and that's what happened to me. And I kept looking for answers, but I couldn't figure it out. It took me a while to even figure out that it was vitamin D that was causing this. That was crazy, because usually when you see everything online, you see that vitamin D improves your sleep quality. And by the way, if you haven't tried it, it's something to look into, especially if you're waking up early in the morning, like around 4 or 5, you're waking up too early. And there are many reports, including some of the people that I've advised. They say that their sleep has improved tremendously, especially if it's winter or early spring, depleted your vitamin D resources and so on. So anyway, in the winter I started taking some vitamin D, like around 5,000 IUs, and I felt very good initially, and it was like, a little bit pick up in energy, better mood and so on. So I took it for like 2 or 3 days, and then I started to notice that I was not falling asleep as fast as I used to, and I figured, maybe it's not just I'm a bit wired, so what? And then I noticed that my sleep was becoming more shallow, and I would be waking up early again and not being able to fall asleep. So it took me a while to realize that it was vitamin D that caused that, and that was a year ago. And this year again, I stepped on on the same mine, so to speak, where there was a very early spring sunny day, and I opened the window. It was warm in the room, and I sunbathed for like an hour. And that night, I was burning. I was very hot, and I could not sleep. And it's been like 5 weeks, 5 days, and it's still very rough. I'm still recovering from that, waiting for my vitamin D levels to go down. And it hit me. I just massively increased my vitamin D by spending like an hour and a half on the sun, which is a crazy thing to do for somebody like myself or with you in similar conditions. So anyways, it's too much to talk about vitamin D overall. It's something for you to look into if you haven't supplemented it, and if you're having sleep issues. But my question was, why would a large or even moderate dose for me, it was just actually probably a small dose of vitamin D, that would cause sleep issues. Sleep issues like, and even insomnia, where I'm not able to get through the night or get enough sleep. So I started looking into, and one of the mechanisms that I found that it has to do with impaired melatonin production, right? And melatonin is a sleep hormone. So there's this report on Consumer Labs, and I'll put a link to my article that it has way more details than I share with you here on the video, if you want to go back to my blog and research this. But there's a report that claims high vitamins of vitamin D pretty much mess with your body's production of melatonin. And this seems like a most likely scenario, because they tried taking melatonin in higher doses than usual for me, and still experienced this onset of insomnia and very light sleep. So it's very likely that if you're not able to fall asleep and you're not sleeping well through the night and you're waking up too early, it's very, very possible your melatonin levels are being suppressed or are low right now. So that's another thing for you to try if you haven't tried melatonin. But anyways, synthetic melatonin, it's not probably the best thing to do, but I still take it. So I always try to find the comparables in traditional Chinese medicine, and vitamin D is actually so-called a qi vitamin. Basically, it's this qi, this energy that you get from the sun, and plants and animals, everybody get that, right? I mean, we wouldn't be able to survive without the sun. So, and it's possible that when you're lacking qi, especially in the winter, and your organs and overall systems are not functioning well, it's possible that you, by suddenly increasing energy levels in your organs, you put a stress on your body and your nervous system. So melatonin levels are lower in the summer, as you know. We need to sleep a little less. We get all this energy from the environment and the sun. And they're higher in the winter because, that's what the body needs to. It needs to accumulate and produce more melatonin for us to sleep. So it's possible that in the winter, if we're low on, if we take too much vitamin D, it just basically just confuses the body into suppressing melatonin production. Because in the summer, I can stay in the sun and I have no problem. So I think it has something to do with that. But suppress melatonin and then giving it in the winter is suppressing it even more. So, okay, so another thing is low thyroid, right, or hypothyroid function. That's another reason that you could be experiencing issues with vitamin D. I found Karen Knox, who is a functional medicine practitioner, believes that there's a correlation between low thyroid function and low vitamin D levels, which makes sense from traditional Chinese medicine because they're talking about low Jing, basically low energy sources. But what she says that high levels of vitamin D make blood levels of calcium increase, which leave magnesium to calcium ratio low. So she's saying that because it increases calcium circulation in your blood, it decreases magnesium. There's a correlation there. And low blood magnesium levels are well known to be associated with insomnia, right? As you probably know from my previous videos. But what caught my attention the most, what she said, is that there's an amazing correlation between people who have had their appendix removed and those that have vitamin D deficiency. And I had my appendix removed like 10 years ago, out of nowhere. Later, I think it has to do all with heavy metals toxicity because I was like 32 or 3 when I had it removed and inflamed. It was crazy. So anyways, I've discovered that thyroid issues overall make things very, very complicated because it increases your sensitivity to pretty much everything. From foods to supplements. I mean, I pretty much react to everything out there. It's crazy. So low thyroid can make one crave vitamin D, but then of course the catch-22 is that ill-matched dose can quickly create an imbalance and stress. So, and last thing is lead toxicity, and that's something that if you have a mixed heavy metals toxicity, which by the way a lot of us do and some have no idea that we do. Lead is a potent neurotoxin, and it can wreak havoc on your nervous system. So the way he reacted to chelating with DMCA is it's a chelator for lead and mercury and so on. Makes me suspect to have high levels of lead. Some studies show that vitamin D causes a rise in concentration of lead in bloodstream and in the bones. Actually, most lead is stored in the bones. So when you chelate, you're pulling it from the bones, and you can chelate for like many years because it's stored in the bones. So my mercury chelating buddies on the forum seem to think that and advise against the use of vitamin D until all heavy metals are cleared from your system. And it's very possible that you're basically pulling more lead out and you're intoxicating your nervous system, and that could be causing an issue as well. And something that I found yesterday, there is a study actually that studied postmenopausal women, and they saw that they gave a group of them vitamin D, relatively low doses, and around 2,000 IUs, I think. And prior to supplementing, they checked, and these women had low circulating vitamin D, and undergoing a weight loss program. So the study finds no explanation, and they basically found that these women had a considerable decrease in sleep quality, and some developed insomnia. And they were baffled, what's going on? How could this be? Normally it's the paradoxical reaction, it's called. And they have no idea why they cause it. Basically, they're saying that they find no explanation at this point, and they think it could be genetic factors, that vitamin D metabolism is involved. So anyway, so there are some cases and some explanations, but I haven't found really the best explanation, which I think is probably the suppressing of the melatonin level. So make no mistake, vitamin D can work magic on you and on the way you feel and energy levels and the way you sleep, and especially in the winter and the early springtime. And if I were you, I would check your vitamin D levels and supplement with something relatively low, like 2,000 IUs. Of course, this is just, who am I, right? I'm not a doctor. Check with your doctor, see if that's the best thing for you, if you don't have any sort of, reactions and so on. So general advice, people with like my body composition, about 2,000 IUs per day, and heavier people, because they have more fat tissue, they can try about 5,000 IUs and see how you feel. But the most important thing, you just start slow. Don't do stupid things like I do, that always experimenting with supplements here. And allow your body to adjust gradually. Even if you just take 1,000 IUs, and just build up to it slowly. Because if anything backfires, you don't have a high quantity of the vitamin D to flush from your body. And actually, you don't really flush it; it just kind of decomposes. And it can take from anywhere to 2 to 5 weeks for it to leave your bloodstream and so on. So especially if you have low thyroid function like me, be very, very gentle with yourself on most of the things. Just easy going on everything, right? And if you have a bad reaction to vitamin D, develop insomnia, I mean, do share with me in the comments, especially if you find ways to flush vitamin D faster from your body, or find a way to overcome that. Basically, sleep is just something to balance that out. So, anyways, that was a long video. I'm sorry about that, and I hope it was helpful. I'll be happy to hear from you. Any thoughts, I'll respond. So, thank you, and sleep well. And someday I hope you will. All of us will. Take care. Bye.